Hey, just as a warning, guys, this episode covers sensitive subject matter about suicide and mental health, so just view on your own discretion. Welcome to Culmination, where everything comes together. In the process of becoming our best self, I have with me the past guest, Gus Fredenburgh, to discuss the topic of suicide. So, with that said, let's get started. So, Gus, for the sake of cohesion and context, would you mind kind of giving us a synopsis of what we're about to talk about today?
Yeah. So when we talk about suicide in a past episode that I was kindly enough to be asked to do, Casey brought me in here to talk about it in like acceptance and loss about it. And
Mhm.
I was allowed to tell my story of my brother RJ, who we lost to suicide. And today we're just gonna kind of expand on that. But if you wanted to go watch the first video, you could. But you don't have to watch it to understand what we're going to be talking about here today.
Right. So yes, I will put that video in the description. For those who are curious, Gus goes through the entire story of how his brother killed himself and what led up to it. It's a very unfortunate story of events, but it's very powerful all the same. And um, so we released that video on February 28th of last year. So we wanted to do this follow-up video that will launch on the same day, which is going to sound weird because when this launches, you're going to see it's all that day.
Yeah.
Um, but that was always a video that was very, you know, it. I was always really proud of that one. It was great the way that it expanded on these really sad themes, but led to a greater understanding of our own lives and mortality, and it was just very powerful in that sense. So,
Just happy you asked me to even come share my story that day. Oh,
well, I appreciate you for coming on, that's not easy, man. But, you know, that's something that we are hoping to discover today. There's a lot of ideas that we covered, but as much as we covered, there's still a lot that we haven't covered. So that's what we're hoping to do in this episode. So, I guess after that long-winded introduction, let's get started here, Gus. Thank you for joining me as always, and let's talk about suicide in a very professional manner. So, what magnitude does suicide hold for everyone involved?
it probably is the biggest magnitude. It just is until it happens, you don't realize how far it's going to spread out. Because for
Mhm.
it was like I know my immediate family was here for it, and his best friends. It was all those people right away. And then I keep seeing these messages from other people. We're getting cards from these past families that we used to talk to, or kids, families from people RJ used to play basketball with back in like elementary school. I was like,
Yeah.
that many people remembered him, and just it keeps going and going, and you don't realize how long it lasts because even though you may not talk to that person anymore, they still remember you for something you did, the way you were able to just be yourself.
Yeah. So this event took place on Christmas Eve 2019, correct?
Yes.
So it's been more than 2 years at this point.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. So you were talking about how this magnitude really expands to this greater level that nobody could really predict, like you said, past teachers from elementary school. So as the younger brother of RJ, how have these 2 years been for you?
It's hard to describe honestly because for those 2 years after it happened, I wasn't still back at our main school with you, Sakani, and the rest of them.
Mhm.
I was going to Scarlet Oaks where I was trained to be a vet tech, and everyone at that school, they had no idea who my brother was. If they did, I'd be very surprised, but
Yeah.
no one really knew who my brother was, so I was just kind of in that place by myself with only like one close friend who I told had what happened and my teachers knowing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just it was a bit separating from everything, but it it's hard to describe because I feel like even if I was back at Sycamore,
Uh-huh.
uh, people would have still been super kind. They as kind as they were after it happened, they would have come up. They either would just give me their apologies or just try and be congenial or just however you would be after someone loses a sibling because no one's ever really prepared for it.
Right. So were these changes in behavior from the people around you, was it almost instantaneous or was it gradual after the event?
Um, it was pretty much instantaneous. Like it was instantaneous as soon as they found out. They're like, "Oh, what do I say here?" And it was kind of just like every few days I'd receive a message or two saying like, "Gus, I'm sorry for your loss. If you ever need to talk,"
Yeah.
and something like that. So it was very kind. It was always there. Like for almost 2 weeks, I think everyone in my family and myself were getting messages from someone or receiving something from someone
Wow.
apologizing about our loss.
How did that all make you feel?
Uh, it is nice that people are sending the apologies, but the thing is,
Yeah.
it hurts a lot more than you think because we don't really want to think about it at that
Right.
time happening. Like the entire day after it happened, my mom's phone wouldn't stop ringing. She had to put it on silent because everyone kept trying to call her. And then since she didn't want to pick it up, they'd just be leaving messages. And she
Wow.
did the messages because it'd just be people on the other side of the phone like, trying not to bawl their eyes out while saying, "I'm so sorry that RJ's gone.
Yeah.
She's already in so much pain from it."
That's really interesting because a lot of people don't think about that. It's like this sort of like it's just this lose-lose scenario because if you don't send a message, then you feel guilty for not sending a message, you know?
Yeah,
Um, like you want to be there for somebody who went through that loss, but on the contrary, when you send it, it adds all that pressure all at once because everyone's doing that. Like
yeah,
I didn't even think about that, you know?
yeah. No, you don't really think about it until it happens. So it's kind
Right.
of like everyone always appreciates the messages. Everyone would, but sometimes it's better. I'm not saying don't send it, but maybe give it time. Like say if you need to talk or anything, I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't just immediately go into I'm sorry about them and everything that happened. I'll remember them forever with all these great memories because I know
Right.
you have a ton of great memories, but that's all we have now is memories because they're gone. And as much as they were a very bright light in our life, it's going to hurt a lot for us to back on those memories right now.
Of course. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean that's just crazy and I bet I mean just hearing you say this makes me think too that yes, you get a lot of messages, but I guess I'll ask you, do you feel like some of them were I know this is a weird word, but almost disingenuous?
To be honest, I think a few of them might have been. There wasn't a lot. I know everyone did mean it because some of them were short, but I
Yeah.
remember, can't remember who it was, but a girl from Sycamore was like, "Guys, I know we have not talked very often or pretty much at all, but
Mhm.
she talked about how she lost her dad within the last year. And it's like, if you ever need someone to talk to or just someone to listen to you for a little bit, I'm here. You can always message me."
Right.
And all I could say was thank you, but I, I would have, but I was just trying to spend time with my family. But there was a few where like it was maybe a few weeks after someone's just like, "Sorry to hear about it, bud." I just go, "Oh, thank you," and kind of just went on. I was like, "Why? Why? Why does that feel like that didn't really mean it or something.
Hmm.
Because like as much as you can try and mean it, sometimes you can tell you're just I I I don't know how to say this, but when I did make a post about losing RJ a few days after, I had second guessed myself about making the post in the first place because I felt like it would be attention seeking. And I
Hmm.
even asked my mom about that. She told me it wouldn't. It's not. It's because I just lost my brother. I'm allowed to make a post to commemorate him,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I still went through with it, of course. Then it was after that, people were sending messages and everything. Then it, like, a few of them didn't seem disingenuous. And then there was like one or two. And then the rest, you could just see, like, they were like, I'm so sorry. Like, I know
Right.
we don't talk, but my siblings knew your brother, or they used, my brother used to play basketball with your brother sometimes, or they used to see him at the rec, and
Yeah.
he always brought this great energy with him, so we're going to miss him. And I'm so sorry for your loss.
Right. Must be must be really hard.
Yeah, there's tougher days every now and again.
Yeah. So that was the first month or so.
Yeah,
How did it progress? Like, kinda walk us through the months.
yeah. I just, because before he died, I everyone in our house would kind of just be in their separate rooms. Someone would be in the basement, someone would be in their room. I'd usually be in my room playing Xbox or something. But after that, it was kind of just RJ always brought a lot of noise and energy into the house because of how big he was.
Yeah.
So after he was gone, it was just really quiet in the house, and we were like, we don't like this. So we had tried to find ways to make it like have more sound in there. Like we'd be more in the center of the house more often. I would always be in the living room watching TV in
Yeah.
case someone just wanted to sit down with me and watch TV. It just we tried to find ways to make sure there was sound in the house again. Our friends were coming over quite often. It was right. It was the most people we've had over in our house in a long time since the parties we've had, just because of celebrations. And it just felt so nice to have people there making noise and us just having these moments of us, all of us laughing together and everything,
Yeah.
because we needed that sound. If we had just let it be quiet, I'm pretty sure we would have all lost our minds or to grief just because of how quiet it got in our house.
Right. That's interesting. I'm in a class that's talking about sound right now, and it's just interesting to think about how much sound is a big part of our memories
Yeah,
when you don't really think about it that often, you know?
yeah,
It's like, "Oh, it's just sound," but in this case, the natural ambience of, your house, it's definitely a shift when
yeah,
it goes from being noisy to just nothing.
yeah. Because I mean, but it's not even just in the house. It's if we used to, for us, it was our parents couldn't even tell it was. We'd ask, "Is RJ coming with us?" If we were going to do something,
Yeah.
everyone would be like, "Oh, heck yeah, he's going. All right, I'm going too." Everyone would be excited because it's like RJ's going. He's the one who's going to make this better. He's going
Right.
to make this more lively. But as soon as that was gone, it was kind of like, well, what do we do here now? How do we get more noise?
Right.
Because even then, it was like I, I always remember like going to Steak and Shake with him, my sister, and my dad, and we just the entire time we'd be there, we'd be laughing, telling jokes, making fun of each other, and it was always like you could always hear his laugh above everyone else, above all the talking, above everything else. You could always hear his laugh.
Right.
Did something that made everything brighter.
Yeah. So when time moved on, And, like, maybe after the first year, what was even now, how how are you affected now when it's been more than 2 years ago since it's happened?
It's it I don't know how to explain it. It's never easier, but it just doesn't hurt as much anymore. You find ways. Like,
Hmm,
everyone still has their moments of missing them. Like, I've just had moments where I've sat in my room, just shed a few tears or something, just like, "I miss you," or every now and again, I go up to his gravesite and I just pretend like I'm having a one-sided conversation with him.
I see.
And I mean, even for me, during that first year of him being gone, I tried to do things where I hung out with a few people. I My friends did try to message me often. They tried to get me out of the house. They tried to see if I can do stuff with them. I During the summer, I'd gotten a job, and then later, because of that job, I adopted a dog, and
Yeah,
I also went to Otherworld with a huge group of friends of mine for a day, and it was one of the best nights I had had in a long time because like
yeah.
a month or so previously, when there was or back at the beginning of the year before COVID shut everything down, we were having a small get together for the Super Bowl, I think, and
Mhm.
I asked a bunch of my friends, "Hey, do you guys want to come over? We can just hang out and do stuff." Well, almost everyone had to cancel because there was other stuff going on. Then the last friend I asked, he was like, "Yeah, no, my parents don't really want me coming over since it's just gonna be us, and even if I was like, "You can bring your brother if you want." He says, "No, he doesn't really wanna go either." So I said, "Alright, that's okay." And I just for a minute there, I went to Summit Park, and there's this nice hill behind the tower, if you've
Yeah.
ever been there. Just went and
Mhm.
sat up there for a bit, kinda just looked at everything while the sun was setting. Then I came back home and went to bed. My mom that night could see, like, I was kind of hurting because of that, because it was gonna be another big group thing with my friends, and I hadn't seen any of them in a while.
Yeah.
But she came into my room after I'd gone to bed and was like, "Hey, you alright? I know you wanted a bunch of your friends to come over and they weren't able to make it. Are you sure you're gonna be fine?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'll be fine. I just need to go to sleep. It'll be fine tomorrow." Stuff like that
Yeah.
happens. So you try and find your ways to make that noise again.
Hmm. Find ways to make that noise again. What does that noise represent to you?
Me, it's it was always just I never tried to focus solely on noise. I always like having it as background noise because before we lived in the house we do now, it was a whole lot smaller, and the thing you could hear all the time was RJ going down the steps because anytime he'd go down the steps, he'd just make sure to stomp as loud as he could. Like, he'd go fast and loud. It was just
Yeah.
like, "Yep, there's RJ," and you could tell just by everyone's footsteps, everything was closer together. But after
Yeah.
we got here, it wasn't as loud, everything kind of spaced out, and it just because you could anytime he'd talk, he didn't try to be loud, he was just loud, so you could always hear him talking. There'd always
Yeah.
be something in the house. If he was here, if he was in the living room, you'd hear him from downstairs. If you were upstairs, you'd hear him.
Yeah.
Just always nice being able to hear something like that going on from somewhere in the house. Just being able to hear him having a conversation or just stuff happening.
Mhm.
It was kind of just like everything's good right now. He's here. These people are here. Everything's fine.
And again, you probably didn't think much of it, like, it was just the normal,
Yeah,
right?
it was a normal everyday thing. Like, you'd hear him talking, or you'd hear him come home, and he'd just be like, extremely tired from working out and everything, or just
Right.
he'd be leaving late at night to go hang out with his friends. And it's just like, all right, he's gone again. He'll be back later.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear how you said earlier that it's not necessarily that it gets easier with time, but
It
you just have yeah,
just
go ahead.
doesn't hurt as much.
Right. Do you think it'll ever get easier?
Uh, r- Honestly, I do not know. It might someday, but days it can come back and hit you like a giant wave in the ocean and everything. So you just have a big wave of it and you have to deal with it for a day or two. That's how
Yeah,
long it comes back. But eventually the waves aren't going to be as big. You'll be able to deal with them no problem. Like
right.
for me, I didn't have the closest relationship with him. So as hard as it was on me, it I always felt like I got through it faster than I should have because of how much
Mm,
I saw my family grieving over him. Because my sister had a great relationship with him. He'd always be talking with my mom or my dad or my stepdad or just one of my other brothers and everything. But I was the only one who didn't ever really do much with him.
yeah,
But it's for my parents, I can still see it's some days they still struggle very hard because of it because that's your child you just lost. You don't know what it's like to lose a child. You should
right.
never know what it's like to lose a child, especially after they've been here for so long, after you've tried to help them with so much and everything.
Yeah,
Then some days is kind of just like the first few days after it was, I heard snippets of my parents trying to get another session with their therapist as soon as they could, or they're very worried about themselves right now because they thought if they don't get help right now, they'd do something they'd end up regretting. And
mm,
it scared the living hell out of me because I was like, I I just lost my brother. I don't want to lose my parents. I don't want to lose another sibling in
yeah,
the
yeah.
span of a few days.
Jeez.
Then it's just like some days it's kind of like a few weeks ago, I went to a UDF by my house.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for some candy and everything, and I stop and listen for a second, and I hear the song playing. And as soon as I heard the words I needed to, everything came flooding back to me of the song, of listening to it in the car. RJ wanting this song. He's like, this is the one. We're playing this one right now. Because it was one of his favorites, and we'd always listen to it in our minivan, just going, just listening to it every time. And it didn't matter if we didn't like it or not, because if RJ liked it, we probably liked it because it was RJ.
yeah,
And that song, it just brought back everything. It was just like remember listening to it in the summer, in the winter, it didn't matter when, but if RJ was around, you'd probably hear it at some point. And I was like, holy crap, I remember all of that now.
it
But
just it's like a truck, right?
yeah, well, not even a truck. It's kind of, for me, like this wasn't one that made me sad. It was more of a happier moment because it made me think of times when we were still really young.
Oh,
Like, just there are some days where it can be like it hits you with a wave of sadness. It can be all that stuff. But sometimes, after a certain amount of time, you start thinking of better things rather than all them just being gone. You think of the good times that you had because of that. Like for
yeah,
me, I heard that song. I got home. I was like, guys, you're not going to believe what song I heard now. And as soon as I told everyone that was just sitting there, and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Oh, you guys remember just like being on road trips and everything, RJ being playing that, and he'd always want that one. And we all kind of just sat there for a bit talking about the song and everything. We were just like, ah, oh, that's nice.
so it was a good moment.
Yeah, because
Mm,
it's just, it was a good moment. That song always brought back good memories, and there was always good times while that song played. Now,
huh,
there was a time during that first year of him being gone, my mom came home one day and she had heard this country song called like Heaven or something. And evidently it was one he used to sing all the time, just in a big loud voice and tried to sound country and everything. And it was one of his favorite. It was just a good song because he just liked to sing it for. He sang it for a specific girlfriend of his at one point in time because he was like, gonna marry you, and it's gonna be because of this song. It's like beautiful heaven, and it just like my mom came home and she like was just slightly crying because of it. And she's like, "You guys remember him singing that?" And we're like, "Yeah," and it kind of just sat there for a moment, and we're like, ah, if only he was he, if only he was still here to sing that song.
Right. Even though I don't have any experience with this, I can only imagine, like, just from what it sounds like in your voice, it's just every moment and memory and pain that you feel from this, it's just so complicated. Like, it's never as black and white as one wave is just sadness, one wave is just happiness. It's like
Yeah,
every happy moment is, like, bittersweet.
it really it's a roller coaster because as much fun as you're having on it, you're still gonna have to get off at some point.
Mm,
The ride's gonna be over, so you try and savor it for as long as you can. Like if you're eating your favorite food and everything, but eventually you're not allowed to have it anymore. You can't have it because you've run out. So you
yeah,
have to be thankful for that moment. And it was just hard to explain sometimes because it's nice as it was, it's in the past now. So can't have it anymore.
that makes sense. I guess with this idea of I think you mentioned regret earlier. Um, Regret's a weird emotion because I've noticed with a lot of like suicide cases, um, and the magnitude in which it happens, the most common feeling that people have is this sense of regret.
Yeah.
So I guess that begs the question, like, is anyone to blame for suicide?
In very rare cases, I feel like the most basic cases where someone can be blamed, bullying is the prime example. There's
Mm,
probably thousands of cases throughout the past 10 or 20 years for us since the like media happened and the internet and we could all message each other so quickly and make fake
right.
bully someone. That and uh, like, abuse cases where it's just like I have no other way to get away from this person and leaving this world is the only way out.
Mm,
Those are where it's there is someone to blame for it. But the rest of the time, from what I've been from what I've learned the past 2 years, from what I've learned in conversations with my parents, there's that person who left always thinks they were a burden to the people around them, and that if they left, everything would be easier for them, and that they wouldn't have to worry about them. So it'd just be easier to go
mm.
rather than stay.
So it's the suicidal ideation that you're speaking of, like this imagination that becomes their reality, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's hard to put into words because as much as like you can say you love them all the time, you can say you love them every single day, every single minute.
Yeah.
They can say I love you right back to you, but there can be a part of them going, as much as they love you, they don't need you. They don't really need you. They can find someone better than that. And even though you could just be gone, if you left this world entirely, that'd be a million times easier because they wouldn't have to think about you. They wouldn't have to worry about you. They wouldn't have to remember all the times and then go running back to them or just
Yeah.
like that. It's just, I'm gone. People don't have to worry about me. I'm gone. I don't have to worry about them. And I don't have to put my worries and troubles on them.
Hmm.
I just go, it's going to be a million times easier for them, right? But from my experience, it doesn't make it easier. It really doesn't. nothing gets easier after they leave.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you dislike the person or how much you love them. Nothing gets easier because as much of it as much of it could have been hard times, but you still had many more good times than bad. You just stay. You can have plenty of more good times rather than have to think about just past good times and then think, oh, I wish they could still be here so we could continue having good times.
Right. And it's this weird complex, because on one hand, as much as the person who has a suicidal ideation, like as much as they're in their own world at that moment, they still understand the objective reality to a very basic sense, to even a large degree, that what they decide to do will have monumental consequences. I guess it's just a matter of if they emotionally respond to those consequences or not. So like
Yeah,
they might understand that committing suicide will actually impact everyone around them. They might know this pretty damn well, but they it's this form of escape. They're going through a lot. Maybe they just don't care. And that's just that's not like a bad thing. It's not like they're selfish about that. It's just like they need an escape, and this is the only way that they perceive,
yeah,
or
because
or
there's
other things, you know?
there's been many times where people say it's selfish to kill yourself. Like
Yeah.
you're taking yourself away from them. It's not selfish. It is
Yeah.
not selfish. They have a lot of pain that you cannot understand in them.
Right.
And they've they've probably maybe they've tried to tell you and you tried to help them, but it didn't, and then they tried to go to someone else and it still didn't help.
Yeah.
Maybe you just then you started thinking, I'm starting to think this pain isn't real for them, that maybe they just say they have pain. There's always going to be pain.
Yeah.
Like for RJ, the night he did it, he had tunnel vision because one of the main reasons he believed was he was never going to find anyone to be with him again. That
Mhm.
there was all the relationships he had, as great as they were, he wasn't going to find anyone that liked him like that or the way it happened in those past relationships.
Or like the one.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then the night when he did it, he texted the first girl he had dated, and he was like, "I'm sorry I ever broke up with you. I'm sorry I was so bad to you. You were the one for me, but you don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm sorry. I hope you know I love you and that you were the one for me, but I'm getting out of your way now." And that girl went to text my mom, and she texted my mom a lot, but my mom currently did not have the phone on her at that moment.
Hmm. Did she
Oh,
know what was going on at that moment?
she probably, my mom, no, the girl who he had texted,
Yeah. Her.
he, yeah, she, from the moment he started texting like that, she probably right away reached out to my mom.
Oh
And
my.
it was just everyone, RJ had tried before, and there had always been someone to talk him away, someone to talk him off.
Yeah.
This, after he did that, he, what he did was he made a few posts on Instagram of saying, if they were never there for you in the first place, they never really cared for you. And the last photo he posted was just a photo of him smiling on top of a parking garage. And it said, the last real smile you see on my face, save it for good luck. After that, he turned off his phone and put it away so no one, he couldn't be reached by anyone. And he did what he did. And that's it, just, he made sure no one could reach him at that moment. And it, because of his tunnel vision, thinking that he wasn't going to find anyone again, that's why he's like, yeah, no, it'll be better off for me to leave. Not because the people around me don't. He thought we didn't care, but he meant the world to us. Because even earlier that week, before he did it, he and I had a small argument because I gave an old Xbox One to one of my friends,
Yeah.
And he's like, Gus, I'll buy it off you. I was like, no, sorry, I'm giving this to my friend. And he was getting very upset about it for some reason. I was like, hey, dude, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I just already planned on giving this to my friend.
Yeah.
He was like, no, you're just being an asshole about it. And then a few days later, we both apologized. I was like, yeah, he said, Gus, I'm sorry. I was like, yeah, no, RJ, I know you're sorry. I know you didn't mean it. So I, you didn't mean it. I know that. You're just my brother. Okay, it doesn't mean anything. I still love you. And then that was the last time I saw him was the night I left because I was dog sitting. And then I didn't get to see him at any point in time after that because he then went on to he did some things to try and start a group chat with all my other siblings, say, "Oh, our mom treats him better than the rest of us." And because of that, we said, "Okay, you're moving back in with dad for a bit."
Yeah.
Well, my dad's was going to the Christmas party that night and everything. And he says he saw something in RJ, like he seemed a bit more upset than usual. RJ was going to try and go to a gym that night, but none of them were open. And that's
Mm.
when
Did
he
anybody catch that?
no, because we thought there'd be at least one gym open. We did, because my brother said, I'll see you later. I'll see you over at our grandma's.
I see.
My dad was like, okay. And my dad now feels immense guilt for not asking, more
Yeah.
like, okay. And I can see where he gets at. But it's also just, we wish that gym, at least one gym could have been open there. We always wish that one gym would have been open that he went to instead of him driving up to Columbus.
But wasn't that his plan anyway?
No, he, as sad as he was, if he, working out was a great way to get rid of the stress he had, to get rid of all of the, it was something that always helped him.
So you was actually going to go to the gym if one was open?
Yes,
Oh.
I know,
I
even though,
thought he had his mind set, and the
yeah,
gym was kind of like to throw you guys off for him to
yeah,
go
no,
through with his plan, but I didn't realize that that was, like, the last straw.
yeah, no, the gym was a real thing, but
Oh,
because no gym was open, he texted the girl. He said he was sorry. He texted my sister, "Tell everyone I love them," while we were all just in our living room. No
oh.
one didn't know anything yet. Then he turned his phone off.
So this wasn't a plan from the start.
No, it was
I
like
see.
we could see he was hurt, but working out always helped him. But he wasn't
Yeah,
able to do that. And it just, that night, my entire family now says that truly wasn't RJ. Because he was bipolar, he wasn't taking his meds or anything.
yeah.
So that night we always say it wasn't truly him. So as much as he was hurting, he now has a lot, all that pain is gone for him now. As much as it hurts us, he doesn't have to deal with his pain anymore.
But is that the answer?
It it could be different for everyone. For me, my entire family and all of his friends, we all wish it wasn't the answer. We wish he would have just taken his meds and
Yeah.
gone to therapy, but he chose not to, and that was his choice. We couldn't change his mind or anything, so we just said, okay, we'll support you in any way we can, but we wish you would do this. And as much as everyone says, if they have a mental health condition or if they, all the people with depression, I don't have it. I don't know what it's like to have it. I just have bad anxiety sometimes because I have ADHD.
Mhm.
But my dad, my mom, my sister, they all have it. And I've seen some very, they've been in very dangerous places. And I wish I could understand the pain from it to know what they're going through.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one of the best things my mom ever gave to me was ending your life does not make things better. It ends the chance of things getting better.
Mm,
And is because no one should have to go through that pain of losing someone. Doesn't matter if they're a friend, sibling, or a parent. You to know that they had so much pain and that you wish you could have helped them or that you think you could have done more. It sometimes it was going to happen eventually or not because they wouldn't give themselves they wouldn't help themselves as much as the work you wanted to put in, they weren't going to put in the work they actually needed.
yeah,
It just makes you feel like you should have done more, but you did as much as you could. You always did.
right. And either way, like whether you did all that you could or not, it just weighs on you, I would presume.
Yeah, it's sort of always there.
Have you ever gone a day without this feeling, at least once?
I think I think I wish I did, but there's probably been a few days where the reason I've always pushed myself to try and be a good person as best I can because
Yeah,
I'm angry. I can be a very bad person. I say terribly mean things. I just go too far, and I just push way too hard. I was like, I just go too far, and that's why I try to be my best self for all my friends and my family. And when I meet someone new, I'm really like, hey, do you need something? Like one of the things I've done for the past 2 years now, since he's been gone, is each
yeah,
Christmas I get all of my close friends I can a gift. I'm like, all right, what do you guys want? Give me something I can try and get you. And I have the past 2 years. And I never wanted them to give me anything back for it. I just wanted to get them something. But
yeah,
2 years, each of them have gotten me something. And for me, I always feel like my friends have always done a lot for me and that I've never done enough for them. And that I always have, I'm forever going to try and find a way, I have to try and find a way to pay them back for what they've done for me to help me in the ways they have.
mm,
Because even before RJ left, I've had dark moments in my life, just like I think everyone else has.
yeah,
But even now, I still have dark periods in time where I was not trying to put in enough effort to help people around me or to even help myself. And that's it's one of the main reasons why I just try to be nice. Like I can be rude when I get annoyed and I try to just keep my calm, but sometimes I'm really bad at that. But I one of the main reasons I try to push myself to be a good person because as I give myself the excuse of as good as you're doing right now, you could probably do better. So I can try and push myself, but it just
that puts a lot of pressure.
yeah, and I hold myself to a standard I can't reach.
Yeah, and that can get draining too.
Yeah,
So I guess I'll ask, do you I know you feel like sometimes you don't feel like you do enough for your friends, but do you think in actuality that's actually true?
personally, I do not know. I from what my family tells me and from what you and my other friends tell me, I
Mhm.
a lot evidently because Sakani, uh, he says I'm one of the big reasons why he pushes himself so hard in school and everything. He said I was one of the big reasons, and I didn't realize that. And he only told me that my senior year of high school. So for the 10 years he and I had known each other, the reason he pushed himself so hard in class was because of me. And I was like, I always thought he just pushed himself hard because that's just who he was.
Mhm.
I didn't realize just because of me that he pushed himself so hard. Or when I just I got him birthday gifts, or I got my friend Jacob birthday gifts. I didn't think be like, oh my gosh, he's going. I'm just doing it because it's something someone should do. If it's your birthday, someone should get you a gift, obviously. So I'm gonna put money into it. It's just I'm always gonna try and put some. I'm gonna ask you what you care about, try and find out what you care about, and see if I can find a way to get that as a gift for you.
Mhm.
And it just, it, I don't. If I do enough for my friends, I don't tell myself I do because I feel like if I do let myself know that I do enough, then I feel like I would get lazy and stop doing enough.
I see. I can see how that would be a very difficult predicament there.
Yeah,
But I guess you know that's kind of the funny thing about just human interaction in general, like especially when it comes to good friends. It's like there's so much we don't know because we can't read minds, you know? And every mind works differently. But it's just this sense where, you know, Sakani relayed that information to you that you're the reason why he would push himself more. And it's like there's nothing you explicitly did to incite that, you know?
yeah,
But and like it's kind of weird because it's like, well, I didn't do anything. You just, you know, you just did that, right?
yeah,
But in a sense, you didn't need to do anything explicitly. You were just a good friend.
yeah,
Sometimes it's the things you do that gets people's attention. Sometimes it's just you being yourself. Sometimes you don't even do anything, but you just represent something symbolically to people. But and that's just the funny thing. It's like you can mean something like you can mean the world to somebody and not realize it and not realize why, you know? And I guess that kind of ties into RJ in a sense. It's like there's no way he could have ever seen this seismic wave of people like reaching out to you and your family or seeing the grievances and like not to make him guilty, but like, you know, there's no way that he could have ever seen this. And in a sense, Gus, the funny part, it's not really funny, but it's just weird, is that there's no way to know these things, and there's not really a reason why, you know? There's not a definite, concrete, written down reason of why everybody had this strong connection with him. It's just he meant a lot to you guys. Sometimes you can say certain sentences about what you liked about him, but other times it's so intrinsic and so complicated that there's no way to actually articulate it into words.
yeah.
And
It,
I feel like that's the bottom line, you know? Like
yeah.
you never know. You never know.
You don't know until something happens. You don't like. I didn't realize how many people. My entire family didn't realize how many people he had impacted until he died. No one realized that, and
You know
it
what's funny, Gus? You know what's funny? You do know. Or not that, but you know that you mean so much to your friends and your family. Isn't that something?
yeah. It just it gives me the confidence to keep pushing, so I can be what they see me as. They see me as that good person, as the kid who their kid who tries to push himself, as the friend who tries to do things to get things for his friends that he knows they care about. I'm going to try and do that. As much as you see me like that, it makes me want to push harder to show you that's exactly what I am, and I'm going to continue to try and be the best version that I can be of that. So you guys will always have that to look at.
But also, you know, there is that, and I really applaud you for that. And honestly, like I think I've told you this before, directly off like off recording, but in my mind personally, I know we're kinda having a heart to heart here in this podcast, but, Gus, you've been through a lot, man. Truly a lot, and it's nothing that I've ever been through, it's nothing that I've ever seen. I'm not gonna pretend like it is. I've definitely worked with cases of such things, I've heard it
Mhm.
from people I know and the media and other things, like genuinely real cases, but I've never actually dealt with it. But in my mind, you were one of the strongest people I know. And it's not because you can bench like 200 pounds. It's not because you're like a, an ubermensch who can just deal with all of the pain and grievances and just tuck it in your back pocket and like nothing ever happened. It's not like you're not a superhuman, but just the things you've dealt with and the things you've learned in this journey you've had. It's like even though death has come at your door, not like to knock on your door, but everywhere around you, you've noticed this pain and this loss.
Yeah,
Even with that, even if your life might have this connection with death to it, and that RJ will always be that part of you that is gone, you symbolize so much more than that. You symbolize life. And I mean that. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say,
I understand. Thank you.
but you know what I mean. It's to understand life. Really, to understand anything good in this world, you have to understand death, like,
You-
or just loss or hell. I mean, the there's a
Pain in
Carl
general.
Jung, yeah, there's a Carl Jung quote that's like, "In order to reach your branches into heaven, you must have your roots in hell."
Yeah,
That's what I see. That's what I see in you. So, I know I know it's hard sometimes, and I'm not your therapist either, so I but I'm not licensed, so don't quote me on this stuff,
right.
but
Yeah, yeah.
just from bro to bro, that is what I see in you. And I wanted to say that not as like some staged thing and for a YouTube video. I'm not that
Of
low.
course.
I wanted to say that because you gave your own definition of what you think people view you as. And and it's like a good definition. Some people give a definition of, "Oh, I mean this to people." Like I'm this terrible person and this is how they view me. I
Yeah,
feel like it's very human to like give ourselves our own perception of what others, like a definition that others perceive us as.
yeah.
But I just shattered your illusion because I told you something different.
Yeah.
And that brings back to my point of you never know. You never know.
Yeah. As much as like for, for me, I feel like I could be doing a lot more that I may not be a good person. As much as I talk to my parents, they say, "Gus, you are a great friend and everything." It's part of me that goes, "You, as great as a friend you may be, there may be someone who sees the exact opposite or of you, or as much as they see you as a great friend, you could be doing more for them." And then I say that exact thing to my parents, and they go, "Gus, the amount you already put in should be enough for you." And I go, "No, no, I need to put in more, not because for me, I've, I always felt like my whole job was to push people around me to do the best they can. Like, they
Mhm.
don't have to worry about me. I'm gonna make it through. Well, I'm gonna push you to be your best self. That's always just been my job. Is just help as much as you can, not because you're gonna get something out of it. Because as
Yeah,
much as
yeah.
you feel good, there'll be a million other things to make you. If I help people, I know that in the end they're going to be happier than where they may have started. That they may be in a better place from where they were. And that if I was able to help them, good for me. Now I just need to move on to the next person because there's always going to be someone who needs that help. If I can help them, I'd be happy to because I just, for every single one of my friends, all I've ever wanted for you guys was to be as the happiest you could be. Because it's it's just the only it's one of the few things that brings me real happiness, knowing that you guys are going to be happy and you're good and you're having a great time and you're having these relationships with people or you're having a good time out at school.
Yeah.
If it doesn't mean you have to see me on a consistent basis or if you just text me every once in a while, knowing that I was able to help you guys get to somewhere where you wanted to be fills my heart with joy because knowing that I could just help you makes me feel a million times better because I'm just like, yeah, no, I'll just go over here and play video games. You got to where you need. Okay, you don't need me anymore. I'll see you around.
Well, hey, we'll always need you. Even if we, live across the country or whatever, even if we can't directly talk to you, we'll always remember. Because we always remember at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We may take things for granted, but we always remember. So would you say that's kind of like your life's purpose?
Helping people?
Yeah, it just sounds very passionate.
I would like to think that. I don't know if it
But yeah,
is.
I guess you can't really define it like
Yeah.
very
Hey,
concretely, you know?
it's like,
Which
what's
yeah,
the
so do you
meaning
think
of
that's your yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, right.
what's the meaning of life? Oh, no, no.
Oh,
It's
that's what it is? Really?
yeah,
Man, I've been
42.
doing this all wrong.
42, folks. There's your answer. Uh, but it's for even my parents say me. They've always seen me that I smile a little bigger or smile a little brighter when I know I've helped someone. Like there's just been random people I've started talking to on Snapchat or just you guys in general, and I'll be like, "All right, do you guys want something? Need anything right now? I'll just go get it and stop by your house and drop it off for you." And they were like, "Wait, are you serious right now?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'll just get you the package and drop it off. I can do that right now." I like there was a person I just did a late night ice cream run for. I was like, "Okay, what flavor did you say you wanted again?" They're like, "Wait, Gus, are you being serious right now?" I was like, "Yeah, you said you wanted ice cream, so I'm gonna get you ice cream. Now tell me what ice cream you want."
It is hard to find somebody that loyal, you know?
Yeah, well,
Good on you.
to me, I think there's plenty of other. For me, I always think that I'm 99%. I'm like every other person there is. I'm just another tall white guy with glasses. So it's kind of just you can find someone just as good or even better. The fact that I'm just being me and doing that doesn't make me special. I'm just being me. So
Yeah.
you'd probably find another person doing that better.
Well, there's always somebody better and worse than all of us, but there's only one you.
Yeah, and that's what my parents and you guys have told me just about every time.
Well, it is a cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
So, we're almost to the hour mark. So, I wanted to ask you guys. We've talked a lot today
Hmm.
about suicide and the ideation and RJ, as well as a good moment towards the end here with, I don't know, just a lighter mood.
Yeah.
But let's bring it home, all right?
Hmm.
Why can't we quit?
Can't quit because there's always going to be people depending on you. As much as you think those people don't need you, they will. And there's going to be another new person you might meet who's going to need you just as much as the last person did. And you can't lose that. You can't say, oh, there's not going to be another person who needs me or wants me. There's always going to be another person. As much as you think there may not be, there is. It may
Mhm.
just take some time to find them. Personally, for me, like my first relationship, I, I was 18 when I finally started dating someone. It
Mhm.
didn't end well, and that was mainly on my part because I made a lot of stupid decisions toward the end. They were a great person, and my opinion, the people they surrounded themselves with were not the best of people. And then I just kept pushing a bit too hard. for reasons like that, and I just did some very stupid things, and I regret because they were a great person.
Mhm.
I'm very thankful for what I had with them. I wish it could have lasted forever, but I pretty much made every chance of that go out the window with what I did, and I'm not going to say it because it'll just make me look more of an idiot than I already am.
Oh,
But I've always wished, in my therapy sessions, that my therapist says they can see that I still care very much for that person, that I want what's best for them, as much as the bad stuff that happened, as much as they may have wronged me in the end. I still think they deserve the best from someone
mm,
because, like I always said to them, you can do a whole lot better than me there, kiddo. And it's kind of just, you can't quit because there's always going to be someone who needs you. But just because they don't come up right away and meet that next person doesn't mean you get to quit before you meet that next person. It just takes a bit of time sometimes. And
yeah,
for me, I I just went through a very bad phase where I was not taking care of myself. My friends and my family could all see that.
yeah,
I'm just now getting out of that, but even now I still have dark moments where my anxiety gets the better of me, and when I start getting anxious, I start spouting too much about stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I just scared that person away with how much I talk about that, so I'm not gonna be surprised if they don't wanna talk to me anymore after that." And it's last night my dad said this to me after I had said that exact, like, same kind of sense to him. He said, "You have to stop with the negativity, Gus. You have to, because doesn't if they like you as a person, just in general, if they like you as a friend, they're going to stick around to be there with you or just talk to you. Doesn't
right,
matter that you may freak someone out, but you have to stop with the negativity, Gus." And I've been trying a very long time because as much as I beat myself up about everything, I'm just now starting to learn to give myself moments of like, "Hey, good job, pal. You did something good."
yeah. And you see, Gus, like, I hear that you say sometimes you think that there's somebody better than you, but I guess the kicker is they chose you for a reason, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, let's think about this logically, based on that logic, you know?
yeah,
If they could have found somebody better, why wouldn't they just go to that person, you know?
hmm
Or wait for that better person? Well, they didn't, and not because they just settled. I don't buy that. They
right,
chose you.
yeah,
They chose you. Uh, I love those kind of reality
yeah,
checks because when I find myself with moments of irrationality, it's like, well, it gets to a point where it's like this doesn't even make logical sense. So
yeah.
it's something I can laugh off. But yeah, we can't be so negative. We can't be so hard on ourselves because there's times to definitely be critical and times to say, okay, I do need to shape up
Of course, yeah,
and take care of myself. But there are times where
you
frankly, you just did a good job.
yeah, you can
Right?
give yourself a pat on the back or give yourself a break for a while or treat yourself with something.
Yeah. As if you were treating a good friend, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah. Any final words before we conclude this episode, Gus?
uh, first off, I'd like to say thank you for having me here again. It's always a great time when I come on here.
Of course, Gus. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. But to anyone who listens to this to the end, I hope you have a great day. I hope you if you, I really hope you do listen to all of this, and uh, I wish you the best and everything. I don't know where I'm going with this. I thought I had something else planned for this. Crap. Uh, uh, if I see you guys out there, say hi. like to see. I don't see many people around anymore, but I wish you all the best. Thank you for listening and coming to his channel. I know Casey puts a lot of effort into this because I know he loves it.
Of
Yeah. Uh, Thank you for having me.
course. So this has been our episode on suicide. It's definitely a harsh topic. It's not
Yes.
one that many people want to think about.
Yeah.
And God forbid that day when they actually have to think about it.
Yeah.
But all the same, with everything that pains us, with everything that we have to go through, it's not easy,
Hmm.
but it gets less hard. Or it gets
It just
what did you
doesn't
say?
hurt. It just doesn't hurt as much as it used to.
Right, okay, yeah. Dang it, I was on a roll, but
Yeah, almost. Almost.
almost. We'll get it on the run back,
Yeah.
but
You can just edit it later.
true. But thanks everybody for joining us, and like Gus said, have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time.